Hi. Quick question. Can you tell me what's wrong with this flashcard? I mean, let's treat it as a single flashcard, like here we got the front, here you've got the back of the flashcard. So on the front there's the Japanese word, yobu. On the back there's the English equivalent, right? To call out. So what's wrong with this flashcard? I'll give you a second to think about it. Okay, so if your answer was something like, there's nothing wrong, this is a perfectly normal flashcard, I use this kind of flashcards all the time, then yeah, sorry to break it down for you, but you're kind of missing the point of flashcards. Because doing flashcards like this is entirely pointless, in my opinion. Because yeah, this is just a context-less word. Not only is it context-less, it's also in Japanese. So your task here is to speak your native language. That's not really what you want to do, right? Okay, so if you flip them around, right? You have the English word in the front, and then you have Japanese word on the back. It's slightly better, but it's still contextless, and you'd still have really hard time using it. Trust me on this one. You have to trust me on this one. Yeah, and so why are we missing the point here? Why are flashcards pointless, as the title of the video suggests? Well, because flashcards aren't supposed to be used for learning. I know that might come as a shocker to some of you, but flashcards aren't meant for learning. They're meant for reviewing and reinforcement of what you've already learned. So what is used for learning? Well, input, right? And maybe like reading grammar explanations or something, but mainly input, right? Input is what you use to learn, and flashcards are what you should use to review what you've already learned. But you know, this kind of flashcards, like, this is a contextless word. You have no memories of this word, basically. And what I mean by that, I will explain a bit later. But this is a contextless, memoryless word that you just basically sing one more time. That's not really great learning, isn't it? So, I mentioned that flashcards should be used for reinforcement, right? Not for learning, but for reinforcement. So, what does it really mean? Let's take some notes here real quick. Let's write reinforcement. Okay. So reinforcement here means that, like making stuff you've already learned, you've already heard or seen in anime, in manga, in songs, making them stick, making them actually usable for you in a real life context, in a real life situation. So how does our brain reinforce information? Well, there are two ways to do it. First one is to create new neuron connections. Okay? Creating new neuron connections inside of our brain. How do you do that? Well, there are also few ways you can do that, but first of all, it's learning in context. Learning stuff in context. Again, what do I mean by that? I mean that you should not download a pre-existing Anki deck from the internet. Because those are just, word equals word type of flashcards. And as we've established before, those are completely pointless because they lack context. However, if you learn with input or like grammar explanations or anything, you have that context, right? Because when you watch anime, there is a scene, there is a situation going on. And then in that situation, you can hear a new word. So that word already has its context, right? You're learning in context. And that's what creates that neuron connection. Your brain goes like, oh, this situation, this word. There's a connection going on here, okay? So that's the first way you can create new neuron connections. The other way is making memories. Making memories about a certain word, about a certain phrase that you're trying to learn or you're trying to reinforce. And again, what I mean by making memories, I will get back to it, okay? For now, let's leave it as is. I'll get back to it. Okay, and there's also another way to reinforce already learned stuff. It's not creating new neuron connections, it's strengthening the already existing ones. Strengthening, I think that's the correct spelling, right? Don't quote me on this one. I teach Japanese, not English, so sorry. Strengthening the existing ones. Existing ones. Okay. So, how do you strengthen the existing ones? By retrieval. By retrieving the information from your head. And this is probably the single most important, most effective language learning advice I can give you, but that's a topic for another video maybe. But what retrieval is trying to recall newly learned information, not from a notebook, because that's cheating. You're lying to yourself, essentially. The point is to try to retrieve them from your memory. So, just try to use that connection, because here, you remember, by learning in context, your brain has this connection going on, right? This situation, you can use this word kind of connection, right? But this path between those two is kind of rigid, right? It's not really, it's not really smooth. It's not a smooth ride down that path. And this is where retrieval comes in. Because whenever you try to recall information, whenever you try to, go on that path, this path gets clearer and smoother with each go. You don't even have to recall that word, that phrase on the first try, on the second try. The important thing is that you try to recall it, okay? And that's what's strengthening that connection. And after a while, after a few tries, this path in between the context and the word is gonna be smooth and easy to navigate. So retrieval is kind of like this tractor-like machine that that enters the skating rink and smooths the ice for the ice skaters or for the hockey players. That's kind of what retrieval does to you. It makes that neuron pathway much more accessible, much easier to access in a real life situation, in a real life context. Okay, so that's what we want from our flashcards, right? We want them to be reinforcing what we've already learned. We want them to have context. We want them to carry some memories with them. Again, we'll get back to it in a second. And we want them to force us to retrieve stuff from our brains, right? And learning using flashcards, the same kind as I've shown at the beginning, right? You have your Japanese and your English here. Using flashcards like this, it's not reinforcement. It's an illusion. It's an illusion of learning. It's a lie. Yeah, I know, it sounds dramatic, but you're lying to yourself if you use those flashcards. You're not actually learning anything. It's just an excuse. It's a procrastination. Because, again, no context, no memories, no retrieval. Unless you do it the other way around, but then again, it's not the best retrieval in the world. Okay, so now the question is, how do you create such flashcards? How do you create flashcards so that they have context, memories, and force you to retrieve stuff? Let's maybe see an example, and let's do one phrase/word, difficult one, together, and I'll guide you through the process of how I usually do it. So, imagine a situation. You're listening to a podcast or watching a vlog, a Japanese vlog on YouTube, right? And then there's a situation, there's context, there's a guy driving his car, and he's in a rush, he's in a hurry. But then in front of him, there's a traffic jam, there's a massive traffic jam in front of him. And the guy goes like, 急いでる時に限って渋滞なんて何それ? And you're like, well, I didn't really understand that. I could get the sounds. I didn't really understand what he meant. But you have the context, right? The context of him like, driving his car, he's got an important meeting, he's in a rush, and there's a traffic jam in front of him. And once again he goes, いやー、急いでる時に限って渋滞なんてね。Right. So, let's try to write that sentence down maybe, what he said. Okay, I'll use kanji and hiragana. Okay, so he said, 急いでいる時に限ってで、渋滞の漢字書けるのかな忘れた。I think I forgot the kanji for 渋滞, sorry. ひらがなにしますね。Okay, 急いでる時に限って渋滞なんて。Okay. So, let's say you know 急いでる. You know it means that to be in a hurry, right? To be in a hurry, to be rushing. 時 is time, so in the time when I'm rushing, right? Something happened. Well, you have the context, right? There's a massive traffic jam in front of him. So you're kind of guessing or even checking in a dictionary that, okay, 渋滞 is a traffic jam. Traffic jam. Okay. And then, に限って. When you try looking for it, it's like really weird. Like, try looking it up in a dictionary. It's a mess. Okay, so we're kind of wondering, what does it mean? Again, you know the guy's kind of angry, right? But, okay, let's do one more thing. We tried recreating that sentence, and I guess you can see the beginning of it because of my camera. Sorry for that. I just now realized that you can't see the kanji here. 急いでる時. No worries. Let's try using an online dictionary. I have it prepared somewhere here. Yeah, we have DeepL, recommended, really good dictionary, or like translator, I guess. And let's try writing that sentence in Japanese and see what we get. So it was, let's try remembering that sentence again, okay? So in that podcast, in that video, you heard 急いでいる時に. Can you guys remember the next phrase? 急いでいる時に限って渋滞なんて. Okay, and let's see what we get. What we get, we got just when you're in a hurry, you get stuck in traffic. Well, here, so obviously we mean ourselves, right? Just when I'm in a hurry, there's a traffic jam. Okay? Now it all falls into place, right? But again, what is this に限って? You've never seen it before. You know that 渋滞, okay, it's a traffic jam, okay, 急いでる, you know. But what is に限って? You start wondering. So what's the next step here? You might already see, I actually can't see because of my camera, but I have another very useful website open here. It's called Immersion Kit. I probably mentioned it sometime before in one of my videos, but it's an amazing site. Okay, let's see what it does. Let's write に限って. Okay? And here are scenes from anime, but let's also check the exact search. It's gonna get a bit better results this way. So here we have some fragments from anime, all sorts of animes. And you, as a learner who wants to get to know what に限って is, well, you have the explanation more or less here. But you can also check through all sorts of different anime scenes, right? And you look for the one. You can even look for the English versions. You look for the one that seems kind of similar to our example with the 急いでる. By the way, can you remember that sentence? 急いでいる時に限って渋滞なんて. So we're looking for a kind of similar situation. So we scroll down, you look for a similar kind of vibe, similar context, and let's say you come across this one from 1週間 Friends. Because, I don't know, you might have seen this anime, you might recognize the character or anything. And look, in English, why does it have to be my turn to clean today? なんで今日に限って掃除当番なんだよ. So again, he's kind of mad, right? He's kind of frustrated. Same as in that 渋滞 scenario, right? This is the same case. 今日に限って. Like, why today of all days? Okay? So again, you start to like making connections. Okay, so ni kagitte is used when you're kind of angry at something. Okay, you can also have a look through all those other examples here, but I'll leave that up to you. Okay, so for now, let's go back to our board. And now I'll make sure you actually see what I'm writing. Sorry for that one. Okay, so what was the sentence from the 1週間 friends? Can you remember? Can you write it down? He was complaining, why is it his turn today? And that today is like, why today, right? なんで今日に限って掃除当番なんだよ。Okay. So now we know 限って, right? に限って。Why today of all days? Why just today? Why did it have to be today? Kind of vibe, right? 掃除, at this point you probably know it's cleaning or like cleaning up. And 当番 is like my turn, right? Again, you had it all in English written here, so it should be fine. Okay. So now you have those two examples, like two different contexts for your brain. Remember we're learning in context, right? So your brain now already has, just gonna, real quick, make it a bit nicer for you. Okay. So your brain now has two similar contexts in which the same word applies. に限って. So, two contexts leading to one solution, kind of. So what do we do from now on? When we make flashcards, like our own flashcards, what do you want to do? You want to get rid of this word. Okay? And instead, here, for example, let's make a little bracket, like a Japanese bracket. And let's make things easy. Let's just use English here. So, 急いでいるとき, we can just do like just when, kind of, right? Because just when I'm in a hurry. Or here, なんで今日に限って, so maybe it had to be, as in why it had to be today, kind of vibe, okay? And this is the front of your flashcard now. Of course, you want to delete this, but anyway. This is now the front of your flashcard. Okay? So what's on the back of your flashcard? On the back, there's this word. Can you now remember what it was? The just when, or it had to be. It was just here on the board a second ago. Can you remember? Maybe you can. It was に限って. And here the same, right? なんで今日に限って掃除当番なんだよ. So, congratulations. You've now made your own flashcards that have context, that have retrieval, because you're forcing your brain to retrieve the Japanese word, the key word from Japanese. And also, those flashcards have memories. You've just made memories with them. How? By watching this video. Or if you were the person in question who found all those, the memories are finding those sentences in the wild while listening to the podcast, then finding this one on Immersion Kit, and then before, remember how we used Deep L to translate this sentence? You have the memory of translating this sentence. You took your two hands, typed on the keyboard, and checked what it means. That's a memory. Then you went to Immersion Kit to look for all sorts of examples, right? Where was it? Here, right? You typed に限って. Here on Immersion Kit, you pressed exact search. You made sure with this here. And then you scanned for similar context. Then you found this here, right? You found this. You tried writing it in your like Anki deck or something. You tried writing that sentence again. Then you took those sentences and deleted the keyword. And now you're here with the flashcard. So everything leading to this flashcard has been a memory you interacting with that context, with that Japanese sentences, with those Japanese keywords. That's what I meant by making memories. By finding something in context, you learn in context. Then by checking its meaning, looking it up in a dictionary, surfing through immersion kit, you make memories with that context, with that sentence. And then, when you have your flashcard ready, you can retrieve the keyword. Okay, so you have all of those memories, all of those connections. The context of the anime, the memory of looking it up, the memory of writing it in Anki, the memory of immersion kit. You have all of those connections leading to that one phrase. And at that point, you might not even need those flashcards because you've already interacted with these sentences so much that you might be able to recreate them from memory. Try recreating them. Like try writing them, try saying them. Maybe they're still a bit difficult, and that's fine. That's why you made flashcards, right? So you can just recall the keyword, the just when, it had to be. You probably can do that, right? It was ni kagitte. After some tries, it's gonna become like obvious. Trust me, you're gonna see this kanji, and you'll be like, oh, ni kagitte. It's gonna be so obvious to your brain because of all the connections you've just made along the way. It's kind of like in One Piece, right? It's not like in any shonen anime. It's not about the flashcards at the end. It's about the route to the flashcards. It's about the memories you created while making the flashcards. And this is what's making things stick. That's what reinforces newly learned stuff, and that's how you should use flashcards. Because you have context, you have memories, and you have retrieval. That's how it works. Oh, and one last thing I wanted to say. This is also a common misconception about like remembering and about how brains work. So let's say instead of all that I just did, I was just, wrote you ni kagitte on the board and told you that, okay, ni kagitte is just. Did you learn anything? Maybe you reviewed your hiragana shapes or something, maybe. But you have no idea how to use it, right? If I just showed you this, you'd have no idea how to use it in a real sentence. And that's because to our brains, contextless, memoryless words or phrases are just strings of data. This is just a string of symbols, string of sounds that to our brain carries no meaning at all. Because you will be able to use words and phrases on the fly only when those words and phrases stop becoming just strings of data and they start becoming painters that paint pictures in your brain. Once the word sparks a vivid image in your brain and isn't just a string of letters, that's when you can use it. That's when your brain really understands it and you can retrieve it successfully. Okay, so that was the last piece of advice I can give you. Sorry, it was kind of long, right? Sorry. But I hope I showed you something cool to try out for yourselves. And yeah, if you agree or disagree, please leave a comment. Let's have a cultured conversation in the comment section about flashcards and what do you think about them. Have you been using flashcards similar to this, or have you been stuck with those kind of pointless word-to-word, contextless, memoryless flashcards? And how was it? Maybe you don't use flashcards at all, because I know people who haven't used flashcards and are better at Japanese than me. So, let me know what you think. And yeah, hope to see you again in some future videos. Take care.